Kumanomi vs Hyo was not fair. Sakamoto Days has quite a few top-tier fights, which I think has led to this fight in particular being kind of forgotten and underrated. Going from chapter 124 to 127, readers got to see Hyo in a valiant struggle against Kumanomi as he did his best to fight her while protecting the innocent people around, ultimately making for a touching ending and a great reminder on the series' themes about humanity and compassion for others. So today, I figured I'd take another look at Kumanomi vs Hyo. Prior to this fight, readers already had a pretty decent idea of who Hyo was. Despite his tough, scary-looking appearance, Hyo is incredibly kind and caring, which is a little unusual in the assassin world. His first appearance in chapter 14 does show him to be a little hot-headed, but that's toned down later in chapter 38 when he's shown caring for Takamura and telling Osaragi to slow down since they have an elderly passenger on board. Hyo's compassion is shown a few more times, namely when he caves in and gives Sakamoto a tip to gain information regarding Uzuki, and immediately after when he apologizes to a doctor for the disturbance he caused by punching Sakamoto through the hospital. Sakamoto straight up tells Shin that Hyo's always been a softie, further emphasizing his compassion. As for Kumanomi, she was introduced a mere 3 chapters before the fight, where the main thing highlighted was her strength. In her introduction, it's shown that her merely kicking a volleyball at Gaku was enough to send him flying back into a wall and make him bleed, and that she has some sort of attraction ability that allows her to casually pull someone like Kashima towards her. The rest of her abilities, however, are shown during the fight, which starts out super explosively. After Hyo helps Heisuke track down the thief that stole Heisuke's bag, the two stand atop a building being constructed as the thief is flabbergasted by Heisuke's skill with ricochet bullets. As Hyo realizes the immense amount of work Heisuke put in to make that one shot, he tells Heisuke he likes him before Kumanomi lands down on the thief, asking which of them is in the order before deciding that she doesn't actually care. Hyo asks if she's one of X's assassins, to which Kumanomi realizes that Hyo is in the order and begins walking towards them. Heisuke tries to ready his sniper, only for Kumanomi to kick it down in an instant, before using her attraction ability to pull the metal on Hyo's ear, ultimately tearing it off. Kumanomi asks if Hyo is the one who took off Gaku's ear, before talking about how Gaku is always so reluctant to talk about his bullies. Hyo responds by saying that he doesn't even know who Gaku is, and despite Kumanomi's wishes to fight whoever bullied Gaku, Hyo just says that there's too many people that could have done it, before rushing forward and punching Kumanomi through the building. Hyo tells Heisuke to leave since he's the one that Kumanomi's after, only to realize that his punch did 0 damage and that Kumanomi is just chilling on a metal beam. We get a quick cut to Uzuki, Gaku, and Kashima talking, basically just saying that Kumanomi, much like Hyo, is incredibly caring, and that Kumanomi sees the world in terms of friends and enemies. It's also revealed that her attraction ability is an electromagnet, which we see Kumanomi use as she pulls up metal out of the floorboards and sends it flying at Hyo. Hyo and Heisuke run away from the metal that Kumanomi just threw, only for Kumanomi to appear above Hyo with a bunch of metal pipes, and as Hyo prepares to punch them away, Kumanomi pulls metal from behind Hyo and launches him into a bus. As Hyo tries to get up, Kumanomi pulls through the roof of the bus before latching herself onto a traffic sign, tearing Hyo out of the bus and throwing him into a car, to which Hyo just says, "Interesting." After getting back up, Hyo takes off his jewelry and thinks about how fighting Kumanomi is gonna suck since the city is full of metal, before Kumanomi takes a random guy's cab and throws it at Hyo. He was able to jump out of the way, but not before Kumanomi uses the debris from the cab to once again hit Hyo and bring him towards her while she punches him. Unfortunately for Kumanomi, Hyo is an absolute tank, as it's shown that her punch did 0 damage, while Hyo says that he's got a pretty good read on her attacks. Kumanomi jumps back and attempts to launch some more metal at Hyo, only for him to effortlessly punch through it and slam Kumanomi. Kumanomi hops onto a nearby building, once again grabbing some metal to launch at Hyo, while Hyo talks about how sheer willpower can, at times, surpass technique. In an attempt to block Hyo's punch, Kumanomi uses a stack of traffic signs to stop him, only for Hyo to punch through it again and send Kumanomi flying. At this point, Kumanomi gets a little desperate as she grabs a bunch of knives from a nearby market stand, making it into a chain of knives and swinging it at Hyo. Hyo notices that if he dodges, the knife chain would hit civilians, so he instead blocks it, ending up with knives in his shoulders. Kumanomi is given the ick from Hyo's heroism, saying that any respect she had for the order was destroyed when she realized Hyo is a softie. Hyo responds, saying that he'll take care of her, while Kumanomi simultaneously finishes the phrase with, "In the name of the order." Kumanomi is once again hating on the order, saying that everyone in it thinks that they're a god, and that she's glad it didn't happen. Hio asks what she's talking about, only for Kumanomi to say who knows before pulling 2 nails out of a pipe and charging up her coil gun. Hio realizes that the shots were actually directed at a kid behind him, and he gets in the way to eat the bullets, having his hand and eye pierced in the process. Kumanomi is under the impression that the fight is over, and as she charges up another coil gun shot, she tells Hio that his personality is completely at odds with his assassin lifestyle. Hio monologues to himself about how he already knows that, since he keeps thinking about things that don't need to be thought about, and isn't able to either perform his job without any illusions on what he does like Nagumo, or quit like Sakamoto, before concluding that at the very least, he's somewhat happy he's able to die a member of the order. However, just as the coil gun is about to hit Hio on the head, Heisuke comes in clutch with his own bullet, intercepting the shot and saying that from now on, Kumanomi will be fighting him. Hio tells Heisuke that he needs to leave, to which Heisuke refuses, and Hio tells him that he shouldn't get too attached, only for Heisuke to call him out on his hypocrisy since Hio cares. Meanwhile, Kumanomi is a little confused on how Heisuke managed to deflect her coil gun shot and prepares to fire another bullet. Hio tells Heisuke to step back, only for Heisuke to ricochet a shot and stop Kumanomi from firing at all, saying that her windup is too long and that he won't lose when it comes to sniping. Hio then starts yelling at Heisuke for not shooting Kumanomi in the head, while Kumanomi gets mad at Heisuke since she thinks he's mocking her. Hio tells Heisuke that no matter how good he is at sniping, he's ultimately going to be a liability if he isn't prepared to kill, only for Heisuke to reject that idea, instead claiming that he doesn't care for their rules since he's just fighting to help a friend out. Hio is a little pleased by Heisuke calling him his friend, while Kumanomi just says that words are meaningless when there's a huge skill gap, before throwing some more metal at Hio and Heisuke. The two dodge, and Heisuke fires another ricochet shot that just barely misses Kumanomi, before Hio pulls up and grabs Heisuke to help him avoid the metal Kumanomi was about to slam him with. Hio thinks about how bullets aren't very magnetic since they're primarily composed of lead, concluding that Heisuke might just be Kumanomi's natural counter, while Kumanomi concludes that all she has to do is make it a hand-to-hand fight before magnetizing herself to a pole behind Heisuke and preparing to kick him. However, Hio comes in clutch and punches her away, while Kumanomi notes that Hio is beginning to regain stamina and that the synergy between Hio and Heisuke is making it harder for her to fight. Heisuke says that he'll continue showering Kumanomi with bullets, but before he can do real damage, Kumanomi rubs her hand along the ground and tanks Heisuke's bullet with the help of some iron sand. Kumanomi grabs some more iron sand before rushing at Heisuke, throwing the sand into Heisuke's eyes to blind him, before punching him into a wall and then returning to focus on Hio. She and Hio begin throwing hands, with Kumanomi asking Hio how long he can last with only one eye, while Heisuke is struggling to see anything due to the sand in his eyes. So to fix this, Heisuke just closes his eyes and fires a shot at Hio's metal jaw piece, which ricochets and hits Kumanomi in the shoulder, allowing Hio to deliver another devastating blow to Kumanomi. With Kumanomi down, Hio compliments Heisuke on his skills, jokingly saying that he's still gonna kill him, before realizing that Kumanomi is in fact not down and pulls Heisuke out of the way of another coil gun shot, this time losing his other eye. Kumanomi says that it was actually a close call considering the fact that she was actually unconscious, but Heisuke is confused as to how she can still fight. As he fires a couple more shots at Kumanomi, they're all tanked by iron sand, before Kumanomi hits Heisuke with a devious roundhouse hook combo, leaving Heisuke on the floor. Heisuke tries asking Kumanomi why she's even against the JAA, to which Kumanomi reveals that the orphanage was really a place to create order members, and Heisuke is appalled by the fact that Kumanomi would attack innocent civilians to achieve her goals, to which Kumanomi basically just says that she doesn't care. Kumanomi then baits Heisuke into shooting a civilian, and Heisuke is completely unable to fight after this, but Hio pulls back up, tossing Heisuke aside before rushing at Kumanomi and launching her into a nearby dock with a punch. The two crash into the water, and Kumanomi pulls the blades of some boats and pierces Hio through the chest, but in response, Hio grabs Kumanomi's right hand and says that she's coming with him, while refusing to let go. They both just want the other to die, but in the end, Kumanomi was able to climb out of the water after cutting off her right arm, leaving Hio in the water, who was still holding on even after death. But let's be real here, Kumanomi would have gotten cooked had it not been for the fact that Hio was a nice guy. In a straight up 1v1, no civilians involved, Hio would have bodied Kumanomi mid to maybe high diff. However, the fact that Hio didn't win ultimately serves to highlight a big theme for Sakamoto Days regarding morals and the ethics of killing, which, when coupled with the hype moments this fight has, I think makes it a bit of an underrated gem amongst the rest of Sakamoto Days fights.